City Council regular meeting of June 12th. Please stand for the pledge. Ready to begin? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilman Hutchins, please.
Father, we thank you for this opportunity we have to be here tonight, Lord. We just ask that you'll give us the wisdom as we deal with the city's business, and just help us all as we get through this budget process. And we just thank you and praise you. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Davis?
Present.
Councilmember Hutchins?
Present.
Councilmember Candia?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Martinez?
Present.
Mayor King?
Present. Item 5, declaration of conflicts of interest. Turn your mics on, please. Okay, now that everybody can hear us. Declaration of conflicts of interest. Seeing none, we'll go to item 6, ceremonial matters. I don't think we have any of those this evening either. We'll go to item 7, items from the public, general non-agenda items. Any member of the public wish to address the council, now would be the time to do it. Seeing none, we'll go to consent calendar. Item 8. A is waive all readings of ordinances and resolutions except by title. B is approval of the warrants. C is approval of the minutes of the May 22, 2012 regular meeting. D is adopt resolution number 2012, next in number, resolution ratifying memorandum of understanding between the City of Newman and Operating Engineers Local Number 3, Miscellaneous Bargaining Unit. E, adopt resolution 2012, next in number, a resolution ratifying the MOU between the City of Newman and Operating Engineers Local Number 3, Police Officers, Corporals, Sergeants Bargaining Unit. F, adopt resolution 2012, next in number, a resolution approving Phase 3 of the PQRST/Fresno/Merced/West Avenue Infrastructure and Street Reconstruction Project as complete, and authorizing Ed Caton as mayor and Michael E. Holland as city clerk to record notice of completion.
Make a motion to approve this consent calendar as read.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
And there's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Item 9, public hearings. We have none. Go item 10, regular business. A, report on Newman Chamber of Commerce event at the downtown Plaza and surrounding area. Lieutenant Short.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Tonight we have 2 requests for use of the Plaza area. The first one is by the Chamber of Commerce. They've requested exclusive use of the downtown Plaza, the 1300 block of Main Street, and the 900 and 1000 blocks of Fresno and Tulare Streets on August 4th, 2012 from 5 to 9 p.m. to host a classic car show. Event organizers have invited several vehicles to attend. There will be a DJ until 9 p.m. and this will be a no alcohol event. The event date currently has no conflicts that we're aware of, and they're seeking your approval. The Chamber has made the following requests: exclusive use of the downtown Plaza and the 1300 block of Main Street, as well as the 900 and 1000 blocks of Fresno and Tulare Streets, street closures at Main and Tulare, Main and Fresno, Tulare at the 900 and 1000 block alleys, and Fresno at the 900 and 1000 block alleys. We're basically going to make an H Main Street and then up to the alleys on Fresno and Tulare. They're requesting use of the restroom facilities and electrical power at the location, and they're asking for waivers in the downtown events in the areas of day of operation, hours of operation, music hours of operations, waiver of the cleanup deposit, waiver of the business license requirement,
Jeez.
insurance reduction from $3 million to $1 million, and traffic and crowd control device costs.
They want us to run it for them too?
Pretty close. All other standards and downtown events will apply. They have prepared a site plan for the event, as indicated on what you have your attachments there. Plan A has the 1300 block of Main Street closed to vehicular traffic and will be used for classic vehicle parking. Also, the 900 and 1000 blocks of Fresno and Tulare Streets will be used for this type of vehicle parking. The East Plaza lot will be open and the West Plaza lot will be closed. And staff recommends staffing this event with 2 uniformed patrol officers during the duration of the event. Projected overtime cost would be a high at $700. And it's staff's recommendation that all applicable costs be invoiced to the Newman Chamber of Commerce. And staff recommends City Council approve the Chamber of Commerce event scheduled at the Plaza and surrounding streets, August 4, 2012, from 5 to 9. And I will answer any questions that I can.
Any questions for Lieutenant Short?
Well, I think I need to file a report. I was held hostage last night at the chamber meeting and told to make sure that this passed tonight, so.
I can believe that.
Seeing no questions from council, direction?
I'll make a motion that we approve the Chamber of Commerce event scheduled at the Downtown Plaza and the waiver of all that they requested.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I'll go to item B, report on Newman Fall Festival event at the Downtown Plaza. Sure, they want everything for free too.
They do.
Wait a second. Julie, honey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Fall Festival Committee has asked to use the Downtown Plaza to hold the annual Wine and Cheese, which is usually held inside the theater. The Fall Festival is an annual event that we're all aware of, and part of those activities have always been the Wine and Cheese Friday night in the theater. They've requested to hold it in Downtown Plaza from 7 to 10 p.m., and they've renamed the event An Evening Under the Stars. The Fall Festival Committee is planning to have a DJ or live band play, and alcohol will be served in this fenced over 21 event. Fall Festival Committee has made the following requests: exclusive use of the Downtown Plaza, restrooms, and power at the location. They've asked for a waiver in the following: days of operation, hours of operation, music hours, that cleanup deposit, and the insurance reduction to $1 million from $3 million, and waive ordinance 9(1.021), which is drinking in public, for the event area that'll be fenced in during that time frame. All other standards of event will apply. They have attached a Plan A, which shows the plaza. This area that's indicated will be fenced with a privacy type fencing. That when the plaza was being constructed on Main Street, there was that chain link with that material where you couldn't see through. It'll be the same type of fencing with an opening at the front and an opening at the rear where the restrooms are. All the parking lots will be open for parking. The Fall Festival has decided to staff this with 4 private security guards. 1 will be at each entrance, and 2 will be roaming inside. They will have ID type bans for people who have paid and are at the age to enter, so that it'll be easier for entry and exit. All parking lots and sidewalks will remain open to vehicular traffic, so it'll be a contained event right there at the plaza. And staff recommends the City Council approve the Fall Festival event scheduled Downtown Plaza on August 31st, 2012 from 7 to 10 p.m. And I will answer any questions that I can.
Any questions of Lieutenant Short? Seeing none, council direction?
I so moved, excuse me, that the City Council approve the Newman Fall Festival event scheduled at Downtown Plaza on August 31st, 2012, from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Carry on. We'll go to item C, approve fiscal year 2012-2013 annual budget as presented in the preliminary budget document. Lou.
Evening, Mayor, members of the Newman City Council. We just completed our workshop this evening. There's 2 resolutions before you. The first one is the adoption of the budget, and the second one is the appropriations limit, the GAN limit, which is calculated every year. We fall far below the limitations on that, so we're able to appropriate all of our tax revenues. The only change that we are, as far as I understand, that we made to the budget from this evening is the addition of the Pulaski Centennial, which is the coming out of the City Council's If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Any questions of Lou? Council direction?
I make a motion that we approve fiscal 2012 to 2013 annual budget as presented in the preliminary budget document.
I'll second that.
Been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And the GAN limit, we need a motion on that.
I'm sorry?
We need a motion on the GAN limit, Rezo.
Okay.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we approve the GAM limit as presented.
Second.
Motion on item 2 and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks, Lou. Go to item D, report on the lighting and landscape maintenance district for fiscal year 2012-2013. Garner.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. As you stated, I'm here tonight to report on the landscape lighting maintenance district for fiscal year 2012-2013. Pursuant to the Lighting and Landscaping Act of 1972, the city of Newman has established 15 zones within the lighting and landscape maintenance district throughout the city. Each zone represents the general nature, location, extent of the improvements we maintain, including cost estimate to obtain those services. In fiscal year 2010-11, the City Council approved a ballot tabulation in support of an assessment increase. However, at that time, Council elected to not increase in previous year's assessments. Therefore, there were no increases for fiscal year 2010-11. In fiscal year 2011-12, City Council increased the rates 25% of the difference between the existing assessments and the proposed assessments. Revenues for fiscal year 2010-11 for the district were estimated to be approximately $234,000, and expenses were estimated at $251,000 for fiscal year 2011-12. However, due to some unexpected emergency repairs we had in the district, actual expenses are coming in at $262,000. The result in this is that we have a deficit in the district of $28,348 that we took out of our reserve account. Unfortunately, that brings our reserves down with an estimated fund balance of $86,000. And it brings us below what is a recommended fund balance reserves of 50% or $140,000. Expenses for fiscal year 12-13 are estimated at $269,725, which is an increase of about $7,139 over the previous fiscal year. The increases for this fiscal year is some minor increases in salaries and purchase of an aerator for all the parks. We're having difficulty with our hard soils, and we need to get the aerator so we can get that water getting through and green our parks back up. Before you tonight, there are 3 options for your consideration and recommendation. Option number 1 would be to increase the annual assessments to the recommended assessment as per the ballot tabulation. This option will result in the district collecting enough funds for the operation and maintenance expenses, allow the operating and maintenance reserves to begin to recover, and allow for the collection of funds for capital improvements within the district. Option number 2, increase the annual assessments to 50% of the difference between what they are now and the approved ballot tabulation assessments for fiscal year 12-13 and 13-14. This option will result in the district utilizing $7,381 from our reserve funds for fiscal year 12-13 and not collecting any funds for any capital improvements within the district. It is anticipated in fiscal year 13-14 the district would then begin to restore the operating and maintenance reserve funds and collecting funds for future capital improvement. Option number 3 would be do as we did last year, which would be to increase the assessments 25% of the difference. This option would result in the district not meeting the operation and maintenance funds, plus no funds would be collected for the capital improvements within the district for fiscal year 12-13. Reserves would continue to be depleted below the recommended 50% reserve level, and the recommended assessments approved 2010 would be reached in fiscal year 2014-15. The district has been operating in a deficit for the last several years, relying on reserves to fund the ongoing operation and maintenance of the district. In addition, the operating reserve fund is below the recommended 50% reserve level, and no funds have been collected for capital improvements. An example of that would be the Sherman Park fence that has been removed. We have no funds to put that fence back into place at this time. Therefore, staff is recommending option number 1, which is to increase the annual assessments to the recommended assessments that were approved in the ballot tabulation. This option would result in the district collecting enough funds for the operation and maintenance reserve funds this fiscal year and allow the operating and maintenance reserves to begin to recover and allow the collection of capital funds for improvements within the district. As required by the Lighting and Landscape Act of 1972, there are 2 resolutions before council tonight. The adoption of a resolution approving the annual report in the Lighting and Landscape Maintenance District for fiscal year 2012-13. And adoption of a resolution declaring its intention to levy and collect assessments for the Lighting and Landscape Maintenance District for fiscal year 2012-13. Declaring its intention of the council to conduct a public hearing, levy assessments to be held on Tuesday, June 26th, at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter. Therefore, staff recommends option number 1, which is to increase the annual assessments to the recommended assessments and adopt the resolutions I just mentioned before you and to set the public hearing. At this time, if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer for you.
Any questions of Garner at this point?
Garner, I noticed that under option 1, some people only go up 87 cents and some people go up $117.
Right. The zone within the districts that went up very little, their funds have been going up on an annual basis since their inclusion into the district. The one fund the one zone that has not, and you see the largest increase, they have not been increased since 1985, and they have very few lots within their zone, and they have a large park within that, so their maintenance costs are quite high.
Which zone is that?
I believe that is Walnut Creek Estates. I have that information for you. Yes, that's Walnut Creek Estates, Walnut Creek Estates. That's Canyon Creek Road over towards Prince Street, Janet Carlson Park area.
What zone number is that?
Zone 12.
Zone 12?
Yes. I have a map if you want to see the location of that road.
So basically, they would then go from 243 to about, is that what they're currently paying, the 243?
Yes, they are paying.
They're currently paying $125.34.
And they would go to 243, is
They
that
would
correct?
go to 243.
Okay.
There's 68 units within that. So there's
68 units. Thank you.
That's the location of the Janet Carlson Park.
And there's also a storm lift station in there as well.
Storm drainage station there. Part of the situation is what we've tried to do and what you've seen recently is the newer LLDs don't have that big of increase because when they were formulated, all those costs were then added, so there was really a true reflection of what the cost would be. Unfortunately, some of the earlier ones didn't have that much detail in there, and so therefore they were artificially low and not covering the cost, and ultimately they were being subsidized by other LLDs.
And I should make a clarification too, that is the extreme. You're looking at an average increase of about $27.
Well, yeah, the mean average maybe, but when you go from 87 to 143, there's some that are 87 cents brings that weight down. So that's 125 to 243 is a pretty.
I do have a
Pretty
spreadsheet
good size
showing you
jump.
each of the zones if you want to see that as well.
What's the other closest one to that in jumps? Can you
That would be
tell me?
$58. And that is Lucas Ranch 2 and 3, which is zone 10.
So they go from about 105 or so to 157. Is that correct, Michael?
Which zone was on?
Zone 10.
Yeah, so it would go to 157 from
99, 62.
Okay. As a question, if we approve option 2, or not approve option 2, if we pick another option than 1, do we have to give every single zone the same exact increase? In other words, if I go to whatever zone it is, it gives them an 87 cent, we go to another one, it gives them 100 and something.
I guess the answer is technically no. I think practically we would advise against that. I think we'd want to try to do something uniform all the way across, just from a calculation perspective, from the engineer's perspective, and getting the assessments done appropriately instead of just arbitrarily picking out a number or a percentage. I think we try to need to keep that consistent across the board.
Maybe as a point of clarification, I could give council a brief update on what we did to determine the costs associated with these improvements. We went out and counted each and every street light, measured the sidewalks, the number of block walls we had, determined what the actual costs were for the street lights electrical wise, determined what it would cost to replace all the sidewalks and block walls, determine the life expectancies, what would be a reasonable replacement cost, drop that down, and that's how we came up with what the annual maintenance cost would be in general for each and every one of these zones. So that's why they're all different costs. Sherman Park, for example, has quite a bit more improvements, and their annual cost is quite a bit more. You look at some other subdivisions that don't have quite the improvements, and their costs are a little lower. It's based on the amount of improvements they have within their subdivision.
Council, if I may add, there was some recent legislation in court findings that really talked about each district needs to stand on its own as opposed to being a pooled group of monies. So therefore, we're going to have to do our accounting is going to be a little bit different as we move forward in our funds. So essentially, you could have not enough funds in an account in a particular district if you're not collecting the assessment that needs to be collected. So therefore, each group is going to have its own set of funds in reserve as opposed to just being pooled as 216 zones, if that makes sense to you.
Okay, are there any other questions of Garner or the city manager? Council options and direction.
Okay, I suggest that we go with option one. I don't know how the rest of the council feels.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion?
There's been a motion. Is there a second? A second. There's a motion and a second to approve option one. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Tom, do we also need a motion?
Yeah, I was gonna, I'm looking at that.
And would that be on item 2 as well?
Consistent with that, we should have a separate motion to pass the next numbered resolution.
Next
Okay.
two resolutions and set a public hearing.
Well, now then, so we actually approved number 2. We didn't approve number 1, right?
Option 1.
That's, yeah, that's actually better put.
There's two resolutions in front of you. One resolution is to approve the engineer's report. The second resolution is to...
You in effect did the second one
We did the
first, and now
second
you
one
can do the
first,
first
yeah.
one now, yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion we adopt resolution number 2012, next in number, approving the annual report for the Lighting and Landscape Maintenance District for fiscal year 2012-13.
I second that.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'll change my notes here. Okay. Item E is adopt resolution number 2012, next in number, awarding the Highway 33 and Inyo Avenue intersection improvements design project to North Star Engineering Group Incorporated for $97,048 and authorize city manager to execute said agreement.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Item 14, as you stated, is to adopt a resolution awarding the Highway 33 and Inyo Avenue intersection improvements and design projects to North Star Engineering Incorporated. Highway 33 and Inyo Avenue has been an intersection that's underdeveloped. We have an auto zone that's currently going in and some possibly future development in the area. It's lacking completed curb gutter and sidewalk, and there's some drainage issues within that. This project is identified in our capital improvement program, and this project in front of you tonight is for the design of those improvements. The city advertised for a request for proposal for 2 weeks and received 4 proposals for the complete design services, which includes working with Caltrans to get this project through, and also some services when we administer the construction contract with them to help with design services as well, includes surveying and traffic signal design associated with this intersection. The selection committee was formed, and proposals were evaluated based on their experience, expertise, their technical approach to the project, and the cost estimate. Of the 4 firms The selection committee determined that North Star Engineering, who is here tonight, sitting in the audience, was determined to be the best firm for this project. They have experience and qualifications necessary to perform this type of work. And their cost proposal was not the cheapest, and also was not the most expensive. The cost proposals range from $53,000 to $120,000. Theirs was $97,048. Typically, we go through an RFP process like this. We're looking for someone that's going to be the best fit and get the project done. It's going to give us the best design and be the best fit for the city. This firm came in with the most qualifications. Their detailed estimate was broken down extremely well. They have quite a bit of experience, and the firm they selected as their sub-consultant, Katie Anderson Associates, is well recognized for their design improvements when it comes to intersection and traffic signals. Therefore, staff recommends City Council adopt a resolution awarding Highway 33 Inyo Avenue Intersection Improvements Design Project to North Star Engineering Group for $97,048, and authorize city manager to execute said agreement. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions of Garner? Council direction?
I'll make a motion, we adopt resolution number 2012, next to number, awarding the Highway 33 and Inyo Avenue intersection improvements design project to North Star Engineering Group, Inc.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Aaron. Okay, we'll go to item 11, items from Supervisor DeMartini.
Good evening, Mayor Keaton, council members. I just have a few things for tonight. Probably of particular importance to the city is the West Park project is coming back to the Board of Supervisors on June 19th to ask for an additional extension of about 6 months or so. June 19th will be an evening meeting beginning at about 6:30. There's no obligation of the board to extend the timeline, and if it's extended, I guess it's extended, but if it's not extended, the project is pretty much through, and we will start over again. I would anticipate a spirited debate on that one. But if you're interested in coming June 19th, that'll be Tuesday evening. As far as the task force, the west side walks are going on now. They occur on Wednesdays beginning at 6 o'clock at the high school tracks, except in Justine, with using Henry Miller Park to walk around there. So from 6 to 8 or so, anybody wants to get some exercise and come out and walk, it's going concurrently in all 3 cities on the west side, Wednesday evenings. I had left a flyer. This is a draft for each of you. The Health Summit, which is scheduled to be here in Newman, which is the Biggest Loser weight loss contest, and then the summit. And the speaker this year is Dr. David Hilburn from the Del Puerto Healthcare District, and he'll be speaking about diet and obesity and how it can cause diabetes. Everything is about the same as last year. We'll be using the theater. The only thing that's different this year is that we'll also be weighing out here in Newman instead of either Justine or Patterson. The task force next meeting is June 21st in Justine, 6 o'clock. Packets will be mailed tomorrow. This flyer is a draft, but I don't think there'll be any changes in it. It's there for your information only. And that's all I have. There's really nothing for me to say about the First Denver Flood Project yet at this time.
Okay, thank you, Jim.
Okay, thank you.
Item 12, items from City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. We had a meeting today, the mayor and I and Public Works Director Garner Reynolds about the Orstema Creek project. It looks like there may be a report coming out and being released probably in July. 14 years in the making, so it's a long process. So, but there's still a long ways to go on this particular project. We'll keep kind of updated on that, and some of that does will rely upon the formation of a new flood control district and assessments that go along with that. So there's still quite a bit of hurdles to go forward with. At our last meeting, the council reviewed a letter that I had written with respect to LAFCO and ag preservation policies. I went to that meeting and presented that letter to the LAFCO board, as well as presented oral arguments that were laid out in the letter. I'm a little discouraged just about how LAFCO's deciding to proceed with this. It's really a statist perspective that they're trying to use with these policies. Basically, what they're trying to say is it's people that are not elected by Newman residents will have land use control over Newman decisions, which I think is inappropriate and something I don't think should be supported on a countywide level. Now, you'll hear a lot of arguments that maybe Newman or council or staff is anti-ag preservation, which is totally false. I mean, that's like saying who supports motherhood. And why everybody supports motherhood. Everybody supports ag preservation. But to take ag preservation policies that are crafted in San Luis Obispo, Napa, Ventura County, and try to bring those to Stanislaus counties just don't work. I think there's some misinformation. I think Supervisor DeMartini, unfortunately, is part of this situation of a lot of the misinformation that is out there and was spelled out in our letter, that when you look at the growth rates, and everybody likes to say the cities are the main problem, but when you look at the report that was done by the American Farmland Trust, the biggest single threat to ag preservation, large rural residential lots. Those occur in county areas, like Knights Ferry that the county just approved. So for the county to come back and say, and even our supervisor to come back and say that his three cities, Ceres, Patterson, and Modesto, that were, for lack of a better term, he was joking and saying that we've taken these ungodly boundaries that we'll never achieve and we've just thrown them on a map. The county's not done one thing in terms of ag preservation. They've not amended their zoning ordinance to take away these large lot rural lot residential type of developments. And you're looking at places like West Park, 2,800 acres. From the original air base is only 1,500 acres. That's 1,300 acres. That's bigger than the city of Newman as it is right now. We're only 1,100 acres as we sit. So it's going to be interesting. I think the city managers all met this week and kind of rallied the troops a little bit and said, hey, we need to get out in front of this thing, or they're going to be very draconian and they're going to try to enforce these mitigation policies on us. And part of that problem lies in, yes, this policy group comes in and they say, okay, we want 1-to-1 ag mitigation. Well, who's to say the next group's not going to come in and say they want 3-to-1, 5-to-1, 12-to-1? Where does it stop? Also, understand that when developments occur, there's financial plans that go along with that. There's only so much money in development with respect to how it's divvied up. If you're taking those funds and using it for ag mitigation, I can guarantee you the city of Newman and its residents will get less amenities for any developments that occur within Newman. And for our supervisor to take the position that Newman is one of his cities that's, put out this big map, and not take into account that the city of Newman has not annexed any land since the year 2000. 12 years we haven't annexed any land. We've been developing in our borders. We've been doing infill projects. So I think there's a fight that needs to take place, and I hate to say it that way, because unless the county wants to partner with the cities and really do meaningful ag preservation, that's basically where this thing's going to go. It's going to end up in court. First of all, I don't think that, in my opinion, and we have a land use attorney who has the same opinion, and we'll probably have to have him draft a letter. LAFCO doesn't have the authority to impose mitigation measures. They're not a lead agency with respect to certifying a CEQA document. So if we do an annexation and we do an EIR and we impose mitigation measures and we certify that EIR, the process is done. There's not a process by which LAFCO can then come back and impose additional measures onto that particular project on a CEQA document that's already been certified by a lead and responsible agency. So I think there's a lot of things on there. If they try to, I think if they try to rush through and impose these, again, draconian status type policies on us and all the other cities, I think there's probably going to be a lawsuit that needs to take place and challenge that, because ultimately it comes down to local control. Who controls land use decisions for the city of Newman? Is it U5 or whoever will be up here in the future that has been elected by Newman residents? Or is it somebody who is beholden to the residents because they're not elected by the residents going to make those decisions for us? So I think that's the bottom line of where this thing's going to come down to. So I'm trying to reach out to the LAFCO executive director right now to sit down and have a meeting with her and try to give her some of my ideas on how we could do meaningful ag preservation in this county. And we'll see where it goes. Ultimately, I think there were differing opinions up there. One opinion wants to move forward with one-to-one ag mitigation on all development that occurs in cities, not in the county area, because the county is not subject to LAFCO. We need to understand.
And that's a bone of contention that I have is Stanislaus County and LAFCO can tell us what to do, but they don't abide by their own medicine, and they're not bound by the same restrictions we are.
Yeah,
And
the county is not subject to LAFCO.
It's no different than the state of California doing what they're doing to counties and cities. Stanislaus County and LAFCO is doing the same thing to us. They don't care what our voters say or what this council says. They want to impose their mitigation, their one-on-one, rather than leave it to this council, this community, to decide what our fate is and the direction we want to go. Stanislaus County and LAFCO, and that's where the supervisor and I are on different wavelengths, they want to dictate to us how we grow. And I think we've done a great job over the years. We've set precedent. We've decided where we want to go. We have identified our prime farmland. Our Plan Commission has taken it and has spent a lot of time drafting our map, and this council has approved it. So I take exception to their supervisor and LAFCO telling us what we need to do. And if we don't do something quickly, they're going to do it for us.
So
sorry, Michael.
The second opinion by a second board member on LAFCO, while that particular commissioner supports one-to-one ag mitigation, he believes that it could be set aside if the cities will submit a growth management strategy before the citizens and have them vote on it. And if you do that, then you're not subject to the one-to-one ag mitigation. So, but that could be loosely interpreted as well. I mean, we could put a measure before our citizens that basically say, we the citizens of Newman believe that local control should stay local, and we invest our growth management strategies into the elected city council. I mean, that's the growth management strategy. Do they like it? I don't know. Probably not. Part of what you're seeing, and part of the troubling part of the proposed policies is LAFCO has to approve some of your growth management strategies and the other things, subject to LAFCO authorization or concurrence, and there's some language in there that ultimately gives them final authority on what you do here in the city of Newman. That's inappropriate, and again, I think that's taking in the elitist and a statist perspective on the world, and basically, again, was what, as the mayor said, it's things that the state does to the county and the cities that we're fighting right now. So we'll continue to move forward. We'll continue to keep you apprised of the situation. We've been in contact with our land use attorney on this, and so it sounds like the cities are going to all try to get together and move together as a single unit as opposed to us individually, because I think that's the best way to move about this. I can answer any questions on that, though, if you like.
Questions of Michael?
The chamber, when I say the chamber, not the Chamber of Commerce, but the council chambers, 2 RFPs are currently out on the street right now. One would be for the dais, the raised platform, carpeting, and a wall, and then the other will be for the audio video. At this point in time, we're about 30 to 45 days behind schedule, but the RFPs that went out have indicated that we want all work completed by the end of August, which would mean a September move-in date, in time to host a September chamber mixer at City Hall. We had last Friday, we had a city softball tournament. Glad to say, administration won again. We beat the Chamber of Commerce. Fortunately, then we ran into the recreation department, who just has too many young people, and we like to joke with them. You could take any 3 of their players pretty much and add their age, and it was still less than our pitchers. So that's how young they were in there. They were good. So recreation won it again, 3rd year in a row, but we'll have to stack our teams for next year. But it was a good time. I think everyone had a good time, good barbecue, and had a good turnout. I bet you there was probably 120, 125 people out
I
there.
thought the food was going to run out, Michael.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It did?
Did.
Yeah.
You had too much to eat, Gordon.
It was a good time. It was a great time. That was our 5th annual, so
That was great.
It's just something I think
Should have been.
it allows staff to interact differently in a different type of occasion with our council members and with staff, with other departments interacting in a social environment that's not always professional, and we get to joke around and to do other things. But it was a lot of fun this year, so we're happy with it. This Saturday, Sherman Park, the Adventure of the Tintin, first movie in the park of the year. If you have not seen the Adventures of Tintin, it's actually a really good movie, and seeing it on the big screen is pretty fun. So I'd invite you to come on out and then bring your families with you. Yancey Building will be on the next agenda. We've been working with Mr. Azevedo, Tony T on that. So. And then lastly, you had a couple of applications that were before you, and there were some waivers on some of the requirements. And now that the budget process is over, we'll be focusing our attention on the downtown event standards. Those standards were written before the Plaza, so we're going to have to be updated and bring this back. And probably going to need to allow us, 45 to 60 days for the lieutenant and the chief to work with Public Works and administration to figure out what's the best way to move about that. So those will be coming back before you. I know the council doesn't like to have standards and then waive 7 of them, but sometimes you do things because you gotta keep. Never mind. Anyway, that's all I had. I can answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions of Mike? All right. Staff? Chief?
Evening, Mayor, council members. Just some quick tips. As the temperature rises, I've noticed more and more people are out later walking and exercising. Just like to recommend people wear bright colored clothing or reflective clothing, as they're crossing streets and things like that. Especially being on the Sherman Parkway area, it's uncontrolled except for Barrington, so cars are turning off, and as you're crossing, just be careful. We are on day 2 of our junior police academy for kids ages 10 through 13. So they've been meeting in here from 8 to 12. Lieutenant Short put them through some physical fitness today. So we had 16 kids sign up and are completing this first phase of the junior police academy. And then we'll move on to the advanced phase for any of the kids that graduate and want to come back.
Outstanding.
Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of the chief? Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Garner?
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Just a couple items for you tonight. The water rate ad hoc group is meeting tomorrow at 6 p.m. I believe Councilmember Candia and Hutchins are on the committee. Anybody's welcome to come to the committee meeting. This will be for the final cut on the report, and after that, if the ad hoc committee recommends it, then we'll we're bringing this back to council for their consideration and adoption. Other item for you tonight that I need to discuss is every week we take water samples throughout the system. We take multiple samples depending on what it is. We do take 4 bacteria samples this year. This May 30th, we had 2 samples come back as a positive, which means that we had a possible presence of a bacteria in our system. We did an investigation on it. Well, let me back up a little bit. So 2 of the 3 in the distribution system came back positive. Duckbind Circle and T Street were the sample locations where they came back as a positive. We did an investigation and we determined that it was not a distribution problem. When you have an immediate positive, what you have to do is you go back out and you resample immediately. We were notified the next day we had a positive. We go out, we resample, and then we sample upstream and downstream of the locations, and then we have to sample each of our wells to determine, is it a distribution problem, is it a supply problem, or is it a sampling problem or other error. In the investigation, all the samples came back negative, and every sample since then has come back negative because we sample every week. We haven't had a positive since then. So then we had to look into the investigation and determine, well, what could it have possibly been? It wasn't a distribution problem or a supply problem, so it had to come down to a couple other things. It could be a lab problem. The lab guarantees that they follow their proper QA/QC, quality control, quality assurance plans. So then it narrows it down to, well, we had wind, and as we've had in the last few days, we had wind at that date that was gusting in a neighborhood of 20 to 25 miles per hour. So that could be a situation that could have happened, or it could be an operator sampling error. Now, when you take a bacteria sample, you have to be very clean when you do it. You can't have any rain happening, or if the wind blows, then you have to kind of get some kind of a shelter to prevent anything from possibly blowing into the jar. It's a very sensitive test. It's very susceptible to contamination. We feel it was either the wind or a sampling error on one of our operators. We've contacted the state, who obviously got the results at the same time we did. The lab is required to notify the state at the same time to notify us. They concur with us that it was more likely a sample problem, not a problem for the distribution system. In addition to that, when we do the sampling, we find a positive, we've got to determine, is it a positive, is it a problem? Some bacteria are good, some bacteria are bad. Fecal coliform and E. coli, everybody knows those are the bad guys. We had nothing that showed up. The positive that we got just showed that there was a presence of a bacteria that was not harmful. As a result of that, the state of California will then issue you a notice of violation due to you violating what's called the total coliform rule. The total coliform rule states that does not care whether you determined if it was a sampling problem. It says if you had, for our system we're small, if you had more than one positive in your sample, then you have to do a public notification on it. Does not care whether you determined that it was not a problem in your distribution or supply system. I spent over an hour on the phone with our regulator discussing with them, and they're not budging on it. So they did send us a notice of violation. We have to do a public notification by mail and by newspaper. And the reason I'm telling you this is it's coming out on Thursday's newspaper, and we're doing a utility bill insert on June 25th, I believe. That will be going out. I want to assure everybody that's here and everybody that's watching this that our water system is safe, it is healthy, there is not a problem with it. This is not a bacteria problem that you need to be concerned with. The state will also concur with us that this is not a problem in our water system. This is the first time that we've had it. We had a conversation this morning with our regulator, and they told us that this is the time of year, if you're going to have a positive, it's going to be because of the weather. They had a few other agencies that have had a similar problem due to the high winds that we've had recently. They can't tie it to their operators because they've been sampling for X number of years. Their labs are certifying their results, but they're seeing an increase in the total coliform positives. And it's after the winds subside and our weather turns around and be a little nicer, they all go away. Now, this is the first one that the city of Newman's had, from what I understand. So I would like to ensure you that we take over 400 samples yearly on our water system for various contamination, for various possible contaminants. It could be nitrates, iron, manganese, bacteria, whatever it is, to ensure that our water is safe and reliable for our system and our customers. This is the first time we've had this happen, but I can assure you that the notice that's going out is stating that it is a sampling problem, that it was not a distribution problem. I just want to make the council aware that this is coming out in our newspaper. We've already contacted them, and like I said, in a utility bill insert. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer that for you.
Questions of Garner? Thanks. Appreciate it. Lou, anything? Stephanie, anything? Okay. Don.
Just one thing, as Supervisor DeMartini had mentioned, the West Side project coming before the Board of Supervisors, the Alliance has sent out an email to all Board of Directors and any other interested parties advising them all to come to the meeting in support of the West Side project. So naturally, I will not be doing that. But just to let you know, they're really pushing, and as most of you know, most of the board of directors of the Alliance is on the east side of the county. So just a heads up, I didn't know if anybody here was going to try to go to that meeting or not.
Michael and I are going to be there for sure. So anybody else, obviously, would be great to show up.
That's all I have.
Thanks. Roberta?
I don't have anything.
Nick?
Nothing tonight.
Bob?
Nothing tonight.
Okay. Well, I could go on and on, but I won't. And there's not enough time. As you know, I went to China last month on what was really a whirlwind trip. I found out on Friday the 11th at about 5:15, and at 1:20 in the afternoon on Tuesday the 15th, I was on a plane to China. That's how quick it happened. The trip itself was I can't describe how great it was. I learned so much. I don't know where this is going to go, what doors are going to be opened. Mayor Madueño from Riverbank and myself made the trip. We were 2 of 10 United States mayors that were there, and there were 40 Chinese mayors, and there was a mayor's forum, and we traveled. In the 5 days that I was there, we traveled, I think, to 6 different cities, and every day we're on a plane to a new city, and so I really learned a lot about Chinese culture. And as a result of that trip, the lady that I traveled with, Laura Lee, her and another delegate was here Friday. They flew into Stockton on Wednesday, and Mayor Madueño she and I were on the phone, and we hosted them, and so they toured the east side of the county. They toured Patterson Frozen Food. They went to every city, and then I took them out to Mapes Ranch on Friday and toured that facility. And I've driven by that place 100 times, but I've never actually physically been on the property, and it's quite the ranch, very modern. And the Chinese delegates that were with me were just stunned and amazed how an operation of that size was ran by virtually, they only employ 20 people on that ranch, and it's amazing. And first and foremost, I'd like to thank our city staff, and especially Stephanie. We hosted them at our city hall for tea and fruit, and Stephanie did her homework and did her research and learned how to properly prepare and serve tea. And I can tell you, they were just so impressed that someone here would go to the extreme of learning how to properly serve tea. And I thought you just mix tea and pour it in a cup and drink it, but that's not the proper way to do it. And so, Stephanie, again, thank you, and thanks to the city staff. You guys did a great job and thoroughly left an impression on them. So that day, we took them out to Stewart and Jasper and toured that facility, which was a real eye-opener, not only for them, but for me. It's been a long time since I've been out there, and they run quite an operation there. And so as a result of this trip, the hope is that there'll be some business opportunities open up. The company that Laura works for, she's the vice president of this company, and their main thing is building trade relations. The Chinese are the government is very, very interested in continuing business relationships and hoping to explore those options in the United States, and specifically California. Riverbank has some good things going on, and I think, with their Ganji facility, the Army Depot plant, there's some real opportunities for them. I didn't get a chance to take them out to our industrial park, even though we don't have any existing facilities, but we do have property. And they're interested in building companies from the ground up as well. I need to say that they've got lots and lots of money, and I don't think there's anything that's off the table that they're not willing to invest and look into. So there's going to be some continuing communication going on between them. I just got another phone call before I came here about some other potentials, and so again, I don't know where this is going to go, but it's hopefully some good things will happen not only for this county but for the Central Valley. You know, and I look at it as a win-win if we get some business going here. There was something else I was going to say. Mayor Medueno and I, we took a lot of pictures and a lot of video, and the plan is to put together a video collage, and we want to share it with not only this council but Riverbank Council and other councils, because I could go on and talking about it. I won't bore you, but I think the pictures will show a lot of what we saw and what we learned while we were there. And if this council would like to see a presentation, I would like to bring it back at some time in the very near future and share with not only the council but our community, since it is our meetings are videotaped. For me, it was, I thought, truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. China was never on my wildest dreams, a bucket list of things to do. You know, you think of Hawaii, you think of Australia, and think of a lot of those places, but not China. So it was a real life experience for me, and I got sick the first day I was there. I guess the Hunan province is known for their spice and hot food, so I indulged quite a bit, and so it was a learning experience of what to eat as well. But anyway, so I just thought I'd just share that real quick, and so my going there, they reciprocated, and they've been here, and I think there'll be more trips, bigger delegations from China coming here and touring Stanislaus County and the Central Valley, and we'll just see where it goes from there. So, but it was a great opportunity, and I thanked Mayor Pat Paul for backing out at the last minute. So she was supposed to go and couldn't, so I went. So anyway, I know that's just kind of real quick in a nutshell, but I would like to bring it back at a later time and just do kind of a presentation with video and all that stuff. So if there's no questions or no other comments, we are adjourned.
It was good.